Hi, everybody. I'm Shelley Goldstein. Welcome to Pando Days 2. We're going to mute everybody, and that will ensure a wonderful experience to listen to all of our wonderful and impressive speakers today. We encourage you to switch to speaker view, which is in the upper right corner of your screen, so that when the speaker is talking, you can have a full view of them. That is optional, but again, it'll enhance your experience with us today. Our event will run 1 hour. And with that, I hand it over to Eugene Shirley. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Shelley, and thank you all for joining us for the launch of Pando Days 21. My name is Eugene Shirley, and I'm the president of Pando Populace, which is an organization that's dedicated to making the place where we live a community of more resilient communities. Pando Days is a program that brings the creative and intellectual resources of higher educational institutions across Los Angeles County together to focus on helping to implement the county's ambitious sustainability plan, Our County LA. Pando is unique in creating a specific program to channel the Southland's creative and intellectual energies in this way, uniting higher ed with insights of government agencies, NGOs, and sponsors, bringing them all together to focus on addressing some of the biggest social and environmental problems we're facing. At Pando, we see all of these problems as challenges that are deeply interconnected. We talk about community resilience as our visionary aim, but it's a concept, a term that in essence is a call for critical change so that the whole of the infinite variety of the social and ecosystems that makes up our lives can renew and thrive in webs of communities that are healthy, just, and vibrant. So we've reached out to more than 50 Southland colleges and universities with representatives of many of them here today to launch Pando Days 2021. For those of you who were involved with us in Pando Days last year, you'll know how it works. Teams organize themselves across Southland higher educational institutions and select a goal from the LA County Sustainability Plan. The teams brainstorm a way to implement the goal, and then they get to work developing projects and prototypes to present at the finale. From the beginning, we've been looking for participating schools to do something completely ingenious that will change LA County and maybe even save the world. Pando Days 21 is largely the same as last year's model, but it's different in just a couple of ways. First, we've asked representatives from government agencies and NGOs to identify problems they need solved. They are our client partners, and each of them has targeted a specific concern. We've worked with them to create challenges that answer the problems they've identified as critical to the areas they service. We've asked them to frame the challenges in a way that meet real-world needs. You'll learn more about these challenges from our client partners in just a couple of minutes today. Note that we've also included an open call category. This gives school teams the opportunity to pick any of the sustainability goals that aren't already attached to one of our client partners, if that's what they choose. The second change from last year is that Pando Days 21 is designed to run throughout most of the year rather than just part of it, with our finale event now scheduled in December. So this is how we see the program unfolding. By the way, what I'm about to tell you, it will all be available on the website. There's the launch today, where you'll be hearing directly from client partners about the challenges they're putting forward in their categories. We hope these will spur your thinking and imagination as you get excited about the potential you'll have in creating teams with projects to meet these challenges. Then over the next 3 weeks, we're asking you to form instructor-student teams and decide which of the challenges you might like to address, either the challenges described by client partners or in the open call category. You're welcome to submit ideas in more than one category. Then on Saturday, March 20, legendary designer John Bielenberg and Brant Williams team up to hold the first entirely virtual Pando Blitz, similar to the brainstorming event we held last year at the Hilton Foundation headquarters in Agora Hills, but this will be a virtual event over a 2 or 3 hour period. There will be joint sessions as well as working groups in order to help you focus your projects. Following the Blitz, you'll be asked to write up your project ideas and submit one-page descriptions of what your team would like to do. In the month of April, we'll assess the submissions, choose up to 3 in each of the 5 categories we have for a total of up to 15 in all, which will then start moving through the Pando Days process. Over the summer, paid internships will be offered to help facilitate your projects moving forward. In the fall, we're expecting that either full courses, labs, or studios, as you think best, will be devoted to your project's development. Projects are then due at the end of the year. You'll see a list of expected deliverables on our website. We will host the dedicated premiere events for each team, showcasing what you've accomplished, followed by an all-school finale. Seed funding will be awarded at the finale to the most promising project within each of the 5 categories. By the way, if you've not yet done so, take a look at the 10 school teams and projects from last year to get inspired. Last year's SciArc submission wound up getting funding from Google. The UCLA initiative received funding from the Mellon Foundation. At least 4 or 5 of the projects have all moved forward by community partners. And all of the project, all 10, were absolutely amazing. So let's get started hearing from our client partners about the challenges they have identified for Pando Days 21. Note that these challenge statements they will be describing have been posted on our website. The client partner for category 1 is Los Angeles County, the Internal Services Division, in collaboration with the Southeast Los Angeles Collaborative and the city of Cudahy. The challenge they have selected is focused on perhaps the most fundamental in creating a more sustainable world, and that's the challenge of how to bring about deep community engagement so that no one is left behind. With us today are Laura Ionacone and Jennifer Karen, both of the Los Angeles County Internal Services Department for Energy and Environmental Service. Laura is the manager of environmental initiatives and Jennifer is program manager. They are joined by Wilma Franco, executive director at Southeast Los Angeles Collaborative. They will describe the challenge they have identified along with background and need, and then we'll open it up for 2 or 3 minutes of questions before moving to the next category. Jennifer, I think you're going to start, and Laura and Wilma will join you. So over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Eugene. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer with Los Angeles County. We're very excited to be part of Pando Days 2021. We've been looking forward to meeting you and sharing our challenge with you because, quite frankly, we need to do better. New clean mobility technologies are not reaching many of our communities, and we need your help to change that. We're here today with one big question for you. How can we better engage with communities so that our residents' ideas are part of the sustainable solutions we're trying to achieve? We're tasked with achieving goals 7 and 8 in the sustainability plan to create a cleaner, more affordable transportation system that enhances quality of life, reduces car dependency, and also leads to a zero-emission transportation system. What we want from you is to see your ideas on a new community engagement strategy that addresses clean mobility barriers and needs, and we'd like you to test your prototype in the city of Cudahy in Southeast Los Angeles. There's several reasons we need your creative solutions. Clean mobility options have been expanding in wealthier communities over the last 10 years. Within the clean mobility ecosystem, the public can access electric bikes and scooters, rideshare and car share programs. But historically disadvantaged communities where incomes are lower and residents are actually more impacted by pollution generated from fossil fuel vehicles might not see any of these options where they live. Scooter, bike, and rideshare programs have bypassed many communities. We believe now is the time to fix that as clean mobility options continue to expand. We're adding more electric vehicle chargers every day for public use, but we need to know where these and really all clean mobility options are needed in neighborhoods. We're really excited about an online interactive platform we're developing to encourage adoption of electric vehicles, but we want to make sure that it's filled with information and tools that people need. There are also new opportunities on the horizon to sync technologies and existing infrastructure. For example, we want public input on creating a universal payment system for clean mobility choices. Maybe it's a great idea, we're not sure. And understanding if people would be willing to charge their cars at places like streetlights. Again, it might be a good idea, but maybe not. These topics are just the beginning. As we transform our entire transportation sector in the coming decade, we need a new paradigm to exchange information and ideas with our residents and make sure that they contribute to and especially benefit from any solutions that we come up with. In one of the largest and most diverse populations in the country, no single community engagement strategy for sustainability initiatives will be suitable. Traditional methodologies to capture feedback are often inadequate to understand residents' needs in real time and create ongoing dialogue. So that's why we've partnered, I'm very excited about this, with Southeast Los Angeles Collaborative, also known as SELA. It's a nonprofit that does incredible work through its 12 partner organizations to improve social and environmental justice in Southeast Los Angeles cities and to lift the voices of residents there as participants in policy and decision-making that impacts them. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Wilma Franco, SELA's executive director, and she's going to talk to you about the communities you'll reach through your project ideas. Go ahead, Wilma.
Hi, thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Wilma Franco. I'm the executive director for the SELA Collaborative. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I think for us, our organization is a network of organizations. So we represent the CBO community in the Southeast region. And then so we have come together, right, and our specific focus is to really ensure that as we're trying to help our communities, that we understand how critically important it is to engage our community in decision making, but also in identifying what are the best methods by which to really address some of these longstanding challenges, right? Our region, as we define it, includes 8 cities and 2 unincorporated areas, predominantly Latino community. We have, and oftentimes the region's importance is often underplayed as to the importance that we play not only to the economy of our region, but to the county and the state of California because of our proximity to the 710 and access to the ports of Los Angeles, right? But that also means that we face a number of challenges. Our communities are low-income working communities, and specifically for this project, we're looking at targeting the area of the city of Cudahy in the Southeast region, largely working class, challenged by a high pollution burden. Cudahy's median income is $43,000 annually, compared to the national average, which is $57,000 a year, right? And then 28% of our residents live below poverty levels, and the majority of our community is Spanish speaking. So as we look at how best to engage, and because as a network we believe that in order to really create meaningful change, we need to do so in partnerships with our community. This is why we are part of this process, right? This new approach to community engagement is needed, one which does a better job of understanding communities along with their interests and needs, but also that provides a means to provide continuous feedback to green system designers as they propose and implement solutions. And also offers effective communication and educational approach opportunities appropriate from what our community needs. We know that our community is ready to be engaged, but oftentimes our biggest concern is that community engagement is often seen as checking off the box, right? And so this is part of the reason we're proud to be part of this process, right? And thank you so much for joining us. Jennifer?
Thank you, Wilma. So in closing, what we're looking for from student projects and ideas is a new method of community engagement that enables dialogue and input on things like electric vehicle charging, micromobility, ride share and card share programs, park and ride lots, and then how to sync all these programs. We'd like to see a prototype that includes 3 elements: a community-based needs assessment strategy that reaches and connects with residents where they live and collects and assesses key data. a community-based feedback model to continuously inform the rollout and implementation of sustainability solutions. And finally, a communication and education outreach strategy to introduce residents to clean mobility options and benefits based on their needs that also encourages meaningful ongoing engagement. We're hopeful that this challenge will appeal to college and university teams across the arts and sciences. We listed many disciplines because you're all welcome. We want to hear your ideas and be inspired by you. We're looking forward to seeing your ideas and to working with you. And Laura, Wilma, and I will welcome any questions that you have about our challenge. Thanks.
And in terms of process, thank you so much, Jennifer and Wilma both. And in terms of process, just enter your questions, if you would, for anyone into chat. And then Shelley will read those. Can the tree challenges be listed in, or the 3 challenges be listed in the chat? Yes, they're on the website. And Shelley, if you'd put up the website address right now. What are the strategies that are currently being used that are, sorry, it disappeared here. What are the challenges currently being used that are not working? Jennifer, that's for you and your team.
Yes, I'll start, and Wilma and Laura, feel free to jump in. I would say we focus on more traditional approaches, so it might include something like surveys, focus groups. So we do community outreach, and we look for ways to encourage best practices to get people to come in and participate and engage. The challenge with some of these traditional options is that it often is a very lengthy process to create the events, to communicate with people, to get them to come, to identify the things that are needed so that they have the resources to be able to participate. Transportation, snacks or meals provided, childcare. And then we have the event, and it might take a long period of time, several months, to process all the information that we got. And then by the time we get to kind of implementing a strategy based on that feedback, it could be a year out. So it's not so much that those approaches don't work. There's a lot of important dialogue and engagement that happens, and there are very effective techniques. What we're looking for is something more real-time and ongoing, rather than needing to do fundraising for one event and then getting a little bit of information and so on and so forth. So we're looking for a more robust ongoing strategy. And Laura and Wilma, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Along that same message, so our challenge really is we have a county-wide goal and sustainability plan that we are trying to implement. So we're tasked, Jennifer, and the rest of my team are tasked with installing 1,000 charging stations a year, which is a significant increase from past years. So we are tasked with this very aggressive target, trying to roll out as aggressively as possible. But in past years, I don't think that the community needs were addressed. It was more targeted around our employee purchases of electric vehicles without really targeting broader communities. So this is the really outcome of this project that we want to see, is how can we benefit the community without displacing or negatively impacting the community from the work that we do.
And I
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Wilma.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add, I think keeping in mind, some of the challenges that we've experienced in SELA in terms of community engagement is oftentimes we have a working class community, right? So the typical 9 to 5 time frame of, let's host an event and convene isn't going to actually reach the community that may actually need to be involved in this process, right? Language barriers is also something that needs to be kept in mind, right? As well as, educational levels, right? I can speak, from a personal level, right? Oftentimes when I want to engage my mom because she does not have formal education, it's difficult for her to engage in the same manners that other may be able to engage. And I think with COVID, one of the biggest things that we continue to advocate for is we are dealing with the massive digital divide, and our community does not have access to this type of technology, right? So if everything's going to be, on the internet, our community will continue to be left out of these conversations. So I think it has to be a very creative, innovative way of keeping, being inclusive and really targeting those people that need it the most to be at the table.
Thank you, Wilma. We have another question from Victoria Charles for the team. Has community-based social marketing methodology ever been used to meet your 3 strategies?
Wilma, do you have an answer for that one? Have you used it?
No, we have not. I think one of the things that we have been working on is trying to, because we've been engaged in a couple of research projects, and our model really looks at how do we best utilize community engagement and data to uplift what community is saying and what community is really kind of providing us, right? And then so I think we've used methods such as like focus groups, but even that, right, can be limited to who is part of that process, right? So I think you're looking at different strategies, and sometimes it may need to take different approaches all at the same time.
Thank you so much, Wilma. Back to you, Eugene.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, someone asked whether the projects that are already in a stage of development would be able to be considered, and absolutely. So, and there are some examples of that happening last year. This is an extraordinarily interesting project that you all have just presented, and we're delighted to have LA County involved with this. Category 2 comes from the Pasadena region and has been developed by key stakeholders there, who pulled together by members of the CSO task force. The challenge they've taken on is in developing electrified public transportation, which includes everything in the challenge from systems to technology to communications. With us today are representatives of the CSO task force who took the lead in Pasadena to develop a strong challenge statement for us. Hydron Mumper Drum is CSO of Art Center and will be assuming the position of CSO Task Force Chair in June. Maximilian Christman is joining her today. Max is Manager for Sustainability Programs at Caltech and is representing CSO Task Force Founding Chair John Onderdonk, who can't be with us today. Hydron, tell us about the Pasadena Regional Challenge, what's so fascinating about it, and then please bring Max into the conversation if you would.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. And I'd like to tell you about challenge number 2, which is also related to goals number 7 and 8 of the LA County Sustainability Plan. The way we approached it, we started very broadly. We considered meeting goals 7 and 8, and which, to just remind you, goal number 7 is to achieve be fossil free in LA County by 2045. That's quite a challenge. And goal number 8 is to provide convenient, safe, clean, and affordable transportation that enhances quality of life and reduces car dependency. So the way we approached it was, we saw it as a mobility challenge. We took a very broad step forward, and our focus was on preparing LA to transition away from fossil fuels and towards a system of transit that is economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable. Now, as Eugene mentioned, Pando and the Chief Sustainability Officer's task force, our mission really is to address real and actionable needs. So we conducted some conversations within the group, as well as with client partners, in this case, Pasadena Department of Water and Power and the Department of Transportation. We brought in educators, specifically from Caltech, PCC, and I'm happy to see my Art Center colleagues on the call today. And we also spoke to various other representatives from within the city of Pasadena. And we narrowed kind of this mobility challenge down to a real actionable need. And that was, how might we deploy EV charging across Pasadena? So that has become our challenge statement. We realized, however, that that's not very narrow. That's still very broad. And in fact, it is multi-tiered. So to break that down further for you, electric mobility is system dependent and therefore requires a system solution. So we see this as a system challenge to address how a community can rely on electricity to propel its transit. Electric mobility is also supported by new and emerging technology and design. So this is a design challenge that will consider the technology and how it is accessed and deployed via stations or hubs or other kinds of physical infrastructure that supports the system. And ultimately, 100% transition to zero emission transit system within the 2035-2045 timeline is a people challenge. Challenge number one detailed a lot of those aspects. How do you provide fair, affordable access to EV charging? What does accessibility look like and feel like? What is that user experience? How do you communicate with your stakeholders, with your community? How do you make it easy to use and enhance the quality of life? So this is an invitation really for whoever is interested to take on this system design and people challenge. We'd like partners in this. Possible outcomes include future casting of mobility systems that are in alignment with not only the LA County plan, but the master plan of Pasadena, system mapping of EV charging and transit networks as they cross and link to other regions. So it's one thing to look at the immediate system for the city of Pasadena, but how does this connect with and link to other networks and systems? And of course, prototype of a mobility EV charging hub and how it connects to the network. So with that, I'm going to pass it along to Maximilian, who will speak on behalf of the Chief Sustainability Officer's Task Force.
Thank you, Hydran. And thank you everyone for being here today. So I think this is a really interesting challenge, a really interesting problem. And it's something that we at Caltech have started to tackle on the campus scale. We actually spent all of 2019 writing a transportation demand management plan, getting some really great ideas down, getting them approved, and started rolling them out in January of 2020. And then we all know what happened. So I'm really glad to see this type of conversation reinvigorated. I think it's extremely important. And there's, we have a fair amount of EV chargers at Caltech, but we also recognize that we're part of, a much greater transportation infrastructure. And that transportation ecosystem, if you will, needs to be accessible, it needs to be equitable, and it needs to be convenient. And so a lot of our discussion centered around, local last mile solutions, a mobility hub with micromobility that also connected to transit. How do we set those up? How do we, scale those? How do we position those types of, that infrastructure and all of those different technologies? How do we help them work together in a way that, people aren't hesitant to jump in, and because they have to take 3-4 different modes and their, scheduling is off? How do we integrate those systems together? It's a tremendous challenge because it works across numerous different agencies. And, it's not always going to be the most affordable solution. So getting some of those financial barriers out of the way was one of the first steps that we took at Caltech, and the ability, how reasonable that is at a larger scale within Pasadena or even the greater San Gabriel Valley, much greater challenge. And so as a very small part of this greater region with, tremendous transportation needs, this is a really important problem that we start to tackle, and it can lead to a wide variety of creative solutions that we would, love to have some partners in tackling.
Okay, thank you so much. We have time for a couple minutes of questions. If anyone wants to send any through on chat for the Pasadena Regional Hydrant.
Eugene, would you mind if I invite Jeff? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Jeff. Jeff Wardle is the chair of the Graduate Department of Transportation and Mobility. I don't know if I've got that correct, but he is a key partner in this challenge. And I wondered if he wanted to add anything to what has been said about what the opportunities are here. What's the exciting part?
Yeah. Thank you, Hydran, and everyone on this call. Yes, I think this is a very exciting opportunity, particularly, for Art Center. Pasadena is our home, but our students and faculty, of course, represent many parts of Los Angeles. But we have felt for some time a real need to do some projects that are very much housed in Pasadena. And of course, being a design program, we are always, our heads are in the future of what Pasadena should look like. We've been very aware and have looked at and done projects internally around Pasadena's master mobility plan. So we're kind of familiar with what that means. But I'm very excited by the opportunities this throws up, not only for my own department, but also for other departments at Art Center and collaborative schools, to really get to grips with building some plausible futures for Pasadena as a city around, as Hydran explained, how transportation is going to evolve under the probabilities of electrification. And of course, more and more our understanding as a community that we have not collectively done a good job in the past of making sure that everybody can be included in these solutions. So I'm really on board with all of this. Thank you, Hydran, for putting me on the spot.
Sure. You almost called me hydrogen. I like that.
It's a Freudian slip. Freudian slip.
A wonderful one. So thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Hydran, for inviting Jeff in, and Max, thank you. We're getting some good questions coming in to keep all this moving. We won't take time to answer them right now, and but hopefully by the end everything will be answered. Otherwise, I'm delighted to be in touch with you all, and we'll have information up on the website. Category 3, where the challenge statement has been developed by Pico Union Housing Corporation in collaboration with Careers by Design, which is a mayor's workforce initiative for the architecture, engineering, and construction industries to implement the Green New Deal. The challenge they've taken up focuses on urban green space development, specifically pocket parks. They have a site picked out and ready. With us today is the Executive Director of Pico Union, Gloria Ferreres, and she will describe the challenge. CSO Task Force member Robin Eason, Senior Sustainability Planner from the City of West Hollywood, will be the respondent, and we'll leave time for a question or two after that. Gloria, tell us about the challenge as you see it and the fascinating opportunity that you have there. Thank you so much for making this happen. And Robin will come in to offer up a couple of observations.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. just to let you know, all Pico unit has been with our shots. My two partners here have been tested on Saturday and we all got our second shot. They're keeping their mask on, but my eyes could flare up, okay? Pico Union is a nonprofit. We started in 1971. I've been here for 40 years. And what we started doing is taking the alleys back, all the alleys where there's little apartments that children are living in a little room, and they're gang infested and drug infested and homeless infested. So I started about 5 years ago a disaster plan, knowing that the Staples Center is 3 blocks from us and some crazy thing might happen. And because I was involved in the riots and we didn't have no food, money, or anything when the banks shut down, and knowing that California is an earthquake, and we've been involved with earthquakes also, we started a disaster plan and a need assessment for this community. So our disaster plan was to get a block captain in every block of Pico Union. This is the Pico Unit Map, and we'll get it to you guys if you can. We cut it in 4 pieces, and then we have a captain for each of the 4, and then we have a captain for each of the blocks. We have done Red Cross training and CERT, so there's more than 300 persons in Pico Union certified. So when we started doing the alleys, there are 7 alleys that we are doing, if you can see them by the little marks, and we'll forward them to anybody who wants to get them. And so we have block captains in all the alleys, and the park is right around here. So it's gonna marry all the park and all the alleys that I'm sure Professor Olivia has talked to you about it, that we got a grant. Thank you so much for it making it happen. And so we want to do environmental alleys where the kids can play and it can be environmental, healthy, and air pollution safety. We want to have exercise things to the whole alley so that the park will kind of close the whole information and the whole activities. We have 7 elements. We have the water. One alley will be just water. We have muralists that are going to do mirrors in regards to waters. We've been having classes, Professor Olivia, every Friday from 6 to 7. We have classes with all our block captains, and their homework was to start bringing people in. And also what I needed to do, because we do have affordable housing, I wanted to make sure that the apartments that don't belong to Pico Unit Housing would be incorporated into the community. And it worked perfectly. And the restaurants also. These 2 days we've been vaccinating all the restaurants and all the convalescent homes because of our disaster plan, that we can organize ourselves immediately. So I'm so excited about this. Thank you, Professor Olivia. I am so excited to partner with her. We've been doing some fantastic stuff since she came aboard. And I'm looking forward we are having 2 developments. One will be a state-of-the-art community center with senior housing, and then across the street from Venice, it's in the corner of Venice and Union. They will also be environmental with electric cars. So I'm excited about that, and water conservation and all that. So our 2 new projects of affordable housing and a state-of-the-art community center that I need help with, because it's going to be $30 million of community spaces for the 2 sites. And I want free money because I don't want to charge the children in this community to learn. We will have a pool, a boxing ring, and we'll have a science up in the roof. There will be like an arcade, but it'll be a science and pollution arcade. So we have incorporated all the community. We also have the vendors who we're working with District 1 to design vendors with umbrellas that will have solar and will have connection to the phone. So in case of an emergency, they will be our eyes and ears throughout the communities because they're out there. We're also designing a trellis that will go into our alleys and our park that will also provide electricity and phone connections for any disaster or emergencies that we have. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We have affordable housing throughout the whole city of Los Angeles, but we picked up all the needs of this community, and we working in partners with everybody, the doctors, the convalescent homes, teachers, schools, because in case of emergency, we need them all.
Wonderful. Gloria, thank you so much. And Robin, I think you probably have some expertise with pocket parks.
So thanks everyone. My name is Robin Eason. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Senior Sustainability Planner with the City of West Hollywood. And I think I need to echo Bonnie from UCLA in the chat where she says, love this Pico Union project. I think what has impressed me just listening to the speaker is the ability to create this, what we've been exploring, this COVID-19, which is social resiliency. I love how the project brings together disaster response. It brings together adaptation elements, you know, the shade structures feeding into this sort of culminating pocket park. That'll be kind of a celebration of all things, and that the pocket park is really can be kind of a community space that emboldens and inspires the community spaces around it. West Hollywood is definitely a community that is part poor. And so we definitely identify with trying to find outdoor spaces that can really bring about that community connection and really just strengthen our community to get out and know each other so that when we have times of shocks and emergencies and crises, that people know each other's names and they can you know, be available to each other to be able to respond to the various needs of that community. And so this is an excellent example of that in the making with all of the elements that really is an expression of the community, from the arcades to the boxing gyms, you know, that really speaks to how well this team has already embedded themselves in really understanding what the community wants and what the community needs to thrive. And so I'm really excited to see the outcome of this project, and I'm hoping that it can be a real model for California communities to follow. And how do you create that community resilience from the ground up? So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you
If
so
anyone
much,
has
Robin.
if anyone has any questions, please get them in. Oh, the exact location. I believe it's a 2,500 square foot area. Is that right? And Gloria.
This location is on 12th Street and Alvarado. And this location is even where we're at now, was closed by Gloria Molina 20 years ago because it was infested with drugs. And so they closed the street and they have never removed the barricades. So when we went to the city council and Professor Olivia and I wanted to see if we can create a park, they gave us a go ahead and then we can convert it to a pocket park.
Wonderful. And once again, then more details for all of these will be up on the website for everyone. Are neighboring zip codes allowed to help? So locations of any of the teams or schools where they are geographically located doesn't really matter to which category, you know, you have a submission. So anyone from anywhere, any of the schools around the county would be able to participate in this category or in any of the others. So neighboring zip codes indeed. Okay, I think we should move on then. But before I get to the open call category, which is the last one that we have up, let me say that we have a new client partner and a new category that's just been confirmed as of last night. The category is housing, and the client partner is the City of Los Angeles's Mayor, Eric Garcetti. The client partner participation for Pando Days is being handled through the Office of the Deputy Mayor for City Homelessness Initiatives, headed by Jose Ramirez. Because this opportunity just came in, we've not had the chance to fully work out the challenge statement with them yet, but we'll be doing so over the next 10 days, and we'll aim to have a short Zoom event with them at that time, targeted solely on a homelessness challenge as it fits within the sustainability plan's goals for housing. So if you or your team are interested in this topic, You'll want to make sure that you join with us then, and we will make sure that everybody is notified when that's going to happen. It'll be roughly in 10 days. Now, the final category is the open call, where teams are invited to write their own challenge statements if they wish to submit a project in an area that they haven't heard listed and that they'd like to do their own thing. With us here to discuss the open call category is CSO Task Force founding member Mark Spears. Mark was previously the CSO of Disney and has had a special role in helping to conceive and continue to guide Pando Days. Mark, great to see you, and let us know about the open call.
Eugene, thank you so much, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. Quite inspiring to see so many people on this call and interested in the opportunity here. It is really an extraordinary opportunity, particularly for those involved in the college and university environment, to create something that actually transitions from the classroom to the community. And we're very excited to be part of this, this effort. For those of you that are not familiar with the our County LA Sustainability Plan, it's quite comprehensive. It's going to offer you a lot of insight and opportunity as you think about designing your projects. It starts with 12 goals. It cascades to 37 strategies, and it has almost 160 actions. So it's comprehensive, but its emphasis and focus is around access, health, community involvement, and activity. I'm going to highlight a couple of the goals that haven't been specifically addressed as part of the challenges. There certainly is more detail, and I did put a link to the sustainability plan in the chat for those of you that have not had a chance to consume it yet. And just to underscore that the common theme here is really the human element. We've heard that really from the 3 challenges that have been discussed. Obviously, the one that's coming in from LA City. And the other goals that haven't been specifically talked about include goal number 1, resilient and healthy community environments where residents thrive in place, really focusing on supporting resilient and inclusive communities. Goal number 2, buildings and infrastructure that support human health and resilience, not only in new construction, but also focusing on the fact we have a rich panorama of existing infrastructure that can be reused in creative ways, and certainly was demonstrated last year with some of the submissions that we got from the competitors there. Goal 4, a prosperous LA County that provides opportunities for all residents and businesses and supports the transition to a green economy. Super important as we come out of the pandemic and we look at reinvigorating our communities and elevating all who want to and interested in work. Goal 6 is access to our natural resources, parks, beaches, recreational waters, public lands, and public spaces. Really focused again on access to the various community residents that we have across the spectrum. Goal 9 is sustainable production and consumption of resources with an emphasis on waste, water, energy, and material resources. Goal 10, a sustainable and just food system that enhances access to affordable, local, and healthy food. No time more critical than now to really start to think about the opportunities we have in the food ecosystem here in our county. Goal 11, inclusive, transparent, and accountable governance, really to focus on strengthening communities and encouraging involvement at all levels and at all times by all residents. And finally, goal 12, a commitment to realize really the sustainability goals through partnership, partly in terms of funding and in terms of the county itself actually getting involved to help us activate the kinds of efforts that will come out of Pando Days this year. Again, want to underscore the human element to this, and also as those of you who did not participate last year need to be aware, creativity is really encouraged. Innovation. I noticed there were a couple of questions about team structure. Again, I'm going to emphasize innovation, creativity, out of the box thinking. As we think about the colleges and universities that may organize these, It's not only the classes, it's the labs, it's the expertise that resides on campus, it's the advisors that are involved, it's the local community organizations that may have a role to play, or may really be an opportunity for you to outreach to the community to involve them and ask them their needs so that you design these. And also certainly corporate sponsorship can't hurt too, if you've got those that are actively involved in supporting your campuses, and really be able to design a project and a program that can meet their needs and ultimately gain their sponsorship is something that's critical. So really want to reemphasize, at this point, the guardrails are super wide. We're really looking for creativity, really looking for unique ideas. And also, and Eugene, perhaps we can touch on this as well, the resources that will be available to support these efforts through the task force, through Pando Populace itself, and through the broader ecosystem that we maintain.
That's right. Thank you so much, Mark. And if anyone has additional questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat. Someone was asking about the composition of teams, and there are different ways that teams will be involved and different ways they're involved last year. Some will be creating whole courses. Some will be dedicating a lab. Some operate on the basis of a studio. And so those are different ways in which teams can be organized. It is also, as Mark said, we're wanting everyone to be as creative and collaborative as possible. And so there can be interdepartmental opportunities here. There may even be the opportunities for different schools to join together and say, hey, let's get students from over here and let's take on this challenge. So there are a number of ways of coming at it. So we really ask for you to think broadly and creatively on structural terms about how you would like to do it as well. If there are additional questions, please feel free to send them to us. Okay, that's going up here in the chat right now. And I think a lot of additional information will be clarified for you on the website. Otherwise, happy to respond to individual emails as you would have them. So I would like to thank our esteemed client partners and the CSO task force members for being a part of Pando Days 21 and for laying the foundation for projects that have the potential to meet real needs and offer great promise. Note that the client partners are there to support us in an advisory way, but they're not proactive. We have to provide the proactive side ourselves, we and the school teams. So next steps, schools, please form teams in the ways that we've been talking. You may work alone once again, or collaborate across departments or even with other institutions as you see fit. Then plan to join us on Saturday, March 20 for the Pando Blitz, where John Bielenberg and Brant Williams will be leading the brainstorming event online. In April, we'll begin receiving your one-page project submissions. Once again, you can see all the content we've covered today, including the full write-ups of all of the challenge statements on our website. We'll have a recording of today's presentation up shortly. Once again, if you have any questions about submissions, please feel free to send those in. Let me express my many thanks to the Pando Days 21 team, to Judith Parker, who's on the call and who, as creative consultant, worked with us last year to help each school identify the essence of what they're doing in narrative form. Let me just emphasize here to you how important this is, because each project ultimately is connecting a big idea, a big category challenge to people. And that connection is the essence of the story that will be bringing your concepts to life. So Judith is available to work with you throughout the course of the year. Get with her early, it's my advice. And of course, this event wouldn't have been possible without a lot of people working tirelessly behind the scenes to produce it in every respect, with special thanks going to Linda Estrada, Shelley Goldstein, and Betsy Hunter. Many thanks to the members of the CSO Task Force for LA County, especially to John Onderdonk, Hydron Bumper Drum, Robin Eason, and Mark Spears. Pando Days is a program that is produced in collaboration with the CSO Strategic Task Force and made possible in part by the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation. Remember to watch your inbox regarding an announcement for the Mayor's Homelessness Challenge launch event over the next 10 days. And make sure to join us on Saturday, March 20 for the Pando Blitz. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe and have a great afternoon.